I like to always put it that I always describe it in my work as throwing away the oars.
Yeah.
And it's a concept people don't like. I have a lot of resistance against this. But I've always put it that there's the river, and on this great river, and I mean the river of time. This is the Elan Vital. It's not, but you can pictorialize it as a physical river. I'm looking at is this the river that carries the cosmos along? This is the great river that they said the Maya spoke of. That is the river of creation that pulls all the planets, all the stars, all the systems along with it. It's the river of time, the river of reality. That's a silent river that we don't hear anymore because of our own clatter. Now on that river is our life. We're born, you see, not into the world, because when you say somebody's born into the world, you're implying that they're separate from it. You're born from the womb of the world. You're born from the womb of the universe. You're absolutely part of the universe.
And you're made from all the
All
atoms itself. You borrow them on the short time you were here, and then you return them to the source.
And your dementia thinks of that universe, that womb, as a hierarchy when it's really a holarchy. But you're born into this movement, and you deafen yourself to the movement because on the river is the boat, and the boat is consciousness. And the boat is, as we said, a creation out of the womb of the world. But on the boat is oars, and the oars is the ego. And the oars is the ego of you thinking you are directing your life. That's sorcery. The magic is to let go of the oars and to let the boat go on the river wherever the river wants to take it. And that's a completely different action. One is Taoist, the other is this other monstrous dementia we've got. Oh, no, I can't trust the river. Give me the oars, quick. Row, 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 row. And then you row yourself into a crevasse. You row yourself into a whirlpool. You see you're banging up against other people's boats, losing direction. And some idiots even want to go out against the tide.
No, yeah.
The super ego man, right?
Yeah.
Which you can name a few of those. But, so the gods look down and they laugh. They put the oars there to see where we're at. The Donald Duck moron who's in the boat there, paddling away, is the one who's absolutely caught in his own ego, thinking, if I don't paddle, I'm not getting nowhere.
Yeah.
It's all about effort. It's all about me. There's my picture of Anthony Robbins, and I've learned how to do it. Give me the oars and get out of my way.
Yeah.
And although the universe rains down horrors of pain and suffering onto that kind of person's life, they'll never learn. They just don't learn. Because they get to like the sound of their oars and the adrenaline of feeling they're directing their own life. But the real art of life, which is the magic of life, which is the enlightenment, is to let go of the oars and then slowly acculturate yourself to the sound of the river. Because that river, by the way, for all your paddling and for all your rowing and for all your histrionics, is taking you precisely where it wants you to go. So you can spend your whole life rowing and it isn't going to matter at all because the river is still master. In fact, I would believe that all your rowing is just basically sending you up shit creek. It's not only a futile waste of time that you'd almost want to cry, you almost want to laugh if it wasn't so sad, which most people are doing. It really is a predicament. But in the end, it's not even taking you to where you need to go anyway, because the river is ultimately going to decide. But you could exhaust. The only time that most people are now, this is what I have a problem, you see, with a lot of the New Age movement and where we're heading in the world now, is that certain people are now waking up to the sound of the river, not out of choice, but because they've literally exhausted their energy.
Burned out.
They're burned out.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I'm kind of glad that you're hearing the sound of the river because you're burned out, but it's still not the most optimum way. It would have been so much better had you had the guts and the power and the faith in the river to throw away the oars in the beginning. But see, no. Man of the inauthentic life, the man of the metropolis, doesn't want to hear anything about that. He's not interested in hearing about it. He's going, what are you talking about? We know what you're all about. I'm not meant to go like that. I'm meant to command, have my life. My life is me. This false, remember I told you the false selling, they're selling us the false idea of individualism, just as they sell us a false understanding of freedom. Well, don't you understand when America's screaming and yelling about, we're the country of the individual. Individualism is what it's all about. That's the false. That's the circus concoction, the paper mache version of the real freedom, the real individuality. There's nothing, even a shred of it. They didn't. Ayn Rand was the only one that I can think of who talked in true terms in America of what that individualism is. So, a better relationship with the inanimate and the dropping of that word completely. Back to a pantheistic pantheism where everything is living. Bringing meaning from within yourself, throwing away the oars, And throwing away the ores, by the way, has been known for centuries. In India, they call it void magic. Yeah. The Druids and the ancient shaman knew that there's positive and negative magic, and then there's another kind of magic that they refer to as void magic. Void magic, in which you touch on the void to give you the power that you require. But that requires letting go. Any kind of action of will, you see, and thinking of that you're in control of the universe is opposite. You work with the universe, but first you have to be tutored by that universe. Just like anyone goes to school, you have to first learn the ropes, don't you?
Yeah.
So man wants to already be, especially the politician is the extreme example of this delirium or this dementia, is that long before he's even tutored as how the universe or nature works, he's already going to run the class. He's already going to, it's like a guy jumping into a Formula 1 racing car and trying to do the, Indianapolis or whatever it is, He's going to end up in the, where he's going to end up? He's going to end up in a ball of fire.
That's right.
And take in so many other people with him.
Yeah.
You can't get on a stallion, thoroughbred, stallion, and start riding without knowing how to work it.
Yeah.
So man is already taking the reins of the universe without instruction. He's killed the instructors. They're all massacred, martyred, and nailed, and dead, and murdered.
Yeah.
And now he's taking the reins himself, and then wondering why he's in a ditch. I'm completely happy that he's in a ditch. I want people to end up in the ditch, because you will not break certain cardinal rules of the universe. I want you to be in angst, because I know why that angst is being brought on. And I'm not in any way threatened by it, those darker emotions. You refuse to keep them, listen to this, all these voices. So of course they become dark. Because once upon a time when they were speaking, you didn't listen. So they become, you see, repressed. Those voices are repressed, and then they take on a different likeness. So this new understanding, compassion. Let's think of the word compassion etymologically as complete passion. Complete passion about your life, bringing it from within yourself. Another way of looking at it has again been explained in The Future of Mankind. Try in every problem that you come across in your life, voice it differently. What's the languaging? Are you saying I've been sold a lie, or are you saying I bought a lie? I'm going to recap that. It's very important to restate this, because again we need to snap out of the psychology of thinking, oh, somebody is doing bad by me.
Externally.
Yeah, externally. What am I permitting to take place? And finally, it comes from Plato, but Plato and Socrates were always asked by the people there in the symposium, tell us about, the spirit. What happens in the spirit world? Tell us what it's like to be a transcendent being, and what lies after death. And he would never address that. He would say, look, my only concern is to get you to the human level. What are you worrying about what the gods are doing? You're at the subhuman level, and my job is merely to get you to the human level. You don't even know what it is to be human yet. Because you think you're already at human level, I'm telling you what to do, on the divine level. That's way, way, way far away. You shouldn't be concerned with that. And it's really true that today the job of any philosopher is to continue to do that process, is to get people to understand what it means to be truly human. Discover your own capacities. All possibilities are only open to the man who's open to all possibilities,
That's right.
who allows himself to be that way.
Yeah.
The person who has set no limits for himself. He's unlimited. He cannot ever come to the limit of who he is.
Yeah.
And therefore you will find yourself in a form of opposition against all those people who have chosen the other way. You will find yourself as being an outsider. But again, lose that sense of alienation by turning yourself on to those inanimate friends that are just waiting for you there, hungering for your presence, hungering for your dialogue. The universe is your teacher. Nature is your teacher. Learn from nature. Nature is what they call, there's a philosophy called, or it's a science, I guess, called negentropia. Ever heard of that? Negentropia. N-E-G-E-N. Negentropia, or negentropic. And that's what the universe is. See, the universe's order is not plugged in. You don't find a socket where the universe is plugged in so that the sun and the moon and the clouds and the rain, where's its energy bank? It's what's called negentropic. It's self-developing, self-perpetuating, and self-regulating. So we need to be, studying that every morning. Bruce Lee said, every morning, like a scholar at his first class, I prepare a blank mind for the day to write upon.
That's nice.
That summarizes everything that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow doesn't exist. Find the void. Find the still point. And from that place draw your energy and resist any force, or have zero tolerance for any force that stops you from doing that. Because as we said, there is an adversarial energy. Because I believe what I'm talking about is man's true destiny. He would be doing this if he wasn't already, in a form of dementia. But that dementia, that infection, that epidemic is caused by external forces that I address in my work and that people need to know about.
Everything that draws away your attention or from you being focused on what you want to do for,
is your study,
during your day.
Is your homework.
Yeah.
And I want to see people with their heads down and taking real notes on that one. That, I want to see total and utter, awareness of all these factors. And some of them are political, and some of them are environmental, and there's all sorts. There's all people that can come to the table at this. I don't rule out anything.
Yeah.
Yes, there are many forms. There's psychotropica, there's pharmacopoeia, there's mind control through the television. There's mercury. We're talking about a lot of different. And we know, hopefully, listeners are aware of this is manifold. Because as we said, a web is not created with one thread. A puppet is not dangled with one string. There's many goes on here. And become students of this, not pessimistically, but think of this as your enlightenment.
Yeah.
This is enlightening you. It's lightening you above the rest of it, so that you can start to see what is going on, to get that perspective.
Not getting down by the information itself. This is an opportunity. First you have to, I don't know if we want to call it a problem, because again then we go back to all of that aspect, but first you have to recognize and see what is the problem for you to be able to do something about it, in a way. So this is an opportunity,
And look at how man has manufactured these problems. And as I say, it all boils down to his contract with himself from the earliest days to lose his psychic sovereignty and his selfhood. The ego is all about that, and it learned that out of its weakness, out of its great fragility. It started to need this sort of scaffolding, and therefore it fell victim to the black art. It really did. And so every voice, every phenomena that comes in to stop this action of life, this allowance, I consider is a sorcery, negative. And people can read more about this on the Weapons of Mass Deception article that I wrote. It's on the forum, or they can email me for it. There's a lot of explanations on there about that, the divination and the goddess DVD, because being and doing is another division we didn't talk about. There's another component to this about the being and the doing, and the difference between those two. We talked about it a little bit, but again, life and lifestyle. What today we have is lifestyle, not life. Very few people are living, but they're certainly into lifestyle, because they've bought that whole prefabricated, packaged imagery that the world has been throwing. And realize that things like good and evil, they are built into the universe. They're in the architecture of the universe. You can't do anything about good and evil, but you can do something about your attitude towards those realities. You're in control of that.
That's right.